The 8,837 meeting of the Security Council is called to order. Protecting the protectors. The agenda is adopted. In accordance with Rule 37 of the Council's Provisional Rules of Procedure, I invite the representatives of Afghanistan, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Bangladesh, Belgium, Bhutan, Botswana, Brazil, Bulgaria, Cambodia, Canada, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Croatia, Cyprus, Denmark, Djibouti, Ecuador, Fiji, Finland, Georgia, Germany, Greece, Guatemala, Guinea, Hungary, Iceland, Indonesia, Israel, Italy, Japan, Kazakhstan, Luxembourg, Maldives, Mali, Malta, Marshall Islands, Morocco, Namibia, Nepal, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, the Philippines, Poland, Portugal, Qatar, the Republic of Korea, the Republic of Moldova, Romania, Rwanda, Senegal, Slovakia, Sri Lanka, Sweden, the Syrian Arab Republic, Thailand, Turkey, Ukraine, and the United Arab Emirates, as well as others who have requested to participate in this meeting, if it is so decided. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. Members of the Council have before them document S/2021/730, the text of a draft resolution submitted by Afghanistan, Armenia, Australia, Austria, Bangladesh, Belgium, Bhutan, Botswana, Brazil, Bulgaria, Cambodia, Canada, Chile, China, Colombia, Costa Rica, Croatia, Cyprus, Denmark, Djibouti, Ecuador, Estonia, Fiji, Finland, France, Georgia, Germany, Greece, Guatemala, Guinea, Hungary, Iceland, India, Indonesia, Ireland, Israel, Italy, Japan, Kazakhstan, Kenya, Luxembourg, Maldives, Mali, Malta, Marshall Islands, Mexico, Morocco, Namibia, Nepal, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Niger, Norway, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, the Philippines, Poland, Portugal, Qatar, the Republic, ready to proceed to vote on the draft resolution before it. I shall put the draft resolution to the vote now. Will those in favor of the draft resolution contained in document S/2021/730 please raise their hand? The result of the voting is as follows. The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor. The draft resolution has been adopted unanimously as Resolution 2589 of 2021. There are no names inscribed on the list of speakers. The meeting is adjourned.
United Nations peacekeepers are deployed in some of the most challenging and perilous environments in the world, doing what others cannot or will not do. They frequently face threats from armed groups, terrorists, and criminals, many of whom have access to sophisticated weapons and technology. The UN Secretariat's strategy for the digital transformation of UN peacekeeping, with its connections to the Action for Peacekeeping initiatives, addresses how to better integrate the use of technologies to improve the safety and security of peacekeepers, enhance situational awareness and field support, and facilitate substantive mandate implementation. We must protect the protectors, who are working for the cause of peace and security. To this end, UniteAware has been developed and recently piloted in MINUSCA. UniteAware is designed to collect, visualize and analyze vast amounts of complex operational information from many different sources, and present this data to inform short-term crisis response and longer-term decision-making. When deployed, Missions will be able to record data on critical incidents and events, follow daily operational activities like patrols, vehicle and air asset movements, access live video and satellite imagery, as well as information from external sources, and quickly retrieve layers of mission logistic and operational data. In volatile environments, detailed knowledge and understanding of past and current events can help deliver early warnings, which make the difference between life and death for peacekeepers and local populations. Peacekeeping is, first and foremost, a partnership. Our collective success depends on every partner playing their role with unwavering commitment. This includes the Security Council, troop and police contributors, regional organizations, host governments, and financial contributors who together allow the more than 100,000 UN peacekeepers deployed around the world, help protect nearly 100 million lives. India has a long and steadfast relationship with UN peacekeeping. Over 250,000 Indian peacekeepers have served in UN missions since 1948, with more than 5,500 troops and police currently deployed worldwide. India fully recognizes that peacekeeping is moving into a new phase, where technology will play the critical role in addressing peacekeeping challenges, and has committed $1.64 million to support a successful rollout of the UniteAware technology platform, as well as technology training courses for uniformed personnel at the UNSC 4ISR Academy for Peace Operations in Entebbe. Working together in partnership, we can make it happen.
Mr. Secretary General, Excellencies, as we formally begin today's open debate on technology and peacekeeping, we wanted to present a short video prepared by the Secretariat on the subject. The video encapsulates the efforts being made under the leadership of the Secretary General to integrate the technological and innovative capacities of member states with the specific needs of the peacekeeping missions. India, as a leading troop contributing country to UN peacekeeping operations, is a proud partner in this endeavor. I thank the Secretariat for screening the video. The 8,838th meeting of the Security Council is called to order. The provisional agenda for this meeting is United Nations Peacekeeping Operations, Technology and Peacekeeping. The agenda is adopted. The Security Council will now begin its consideration of item 2 of the agenda. I wish to draw the attention of Council members to document S/2021/681, a letter dated 26 July 2021 from the Permanent Representative of India, addressed to the Secretary General, transmitting a concept paper on the item under consideration. The Council has before it the text of a statement by the President on behalf of the Council on the subject of today's meeting. I thank the Council members for the valuable contributions to this statement. In accordance with the understanding reached among Council members, I shall take it that the members of the Security Council agree to the statement, which will be issued as a document of the Security Council under the symbol S/PRST/2021/17. I now wish to warmly welcome the Secretary General, His Excellency Mr. Antonio Guterres, and I give him the floor.
Your Excellency, Mr. President, Excellencies, I thank the Government of India for convening today's open debate on technology and peacekeeping. Over recent decades, conflicts have become more intractable and protracted, actors have multiplied and diversified, and tools of warfare are increasingly sophisticated. And the growing internationalization of civil wars has made their resolution even more complex. The devastating effects of the climate crisis on the lands and resources of peoples around the world, combined with growing socioeconomic vulnerabilities, are converging with unfooling conflicts, causing further suffering. These shifts in conflict are accompanied by a broader societal transformation propelled by new technology. Digital technology in particular represents one of the greatest opportunities, but also one of the greatest challenges of our time. As I stress in my roadmap for digital cooperation, the international community must come together better to govern the digital space for good while addressing its many challenges. And the good is plain to see. Digital technologies play a central role in connecting communities, advancing healthcare and education, and enabling mobilization and change. Digital technologies have allowed parts of the global economy and communities connected to the internet to continue functioning during the COVID-19 pandemic. And in the realm of peacekeeping, tools reliant on digital technologies such as long-range cameras, unmanned aerial vehicles, and ground surveillance radars help peacekeepers protect civilians and themselves. New technologies have great potential, if managed responsibly, to enable safer, harm-free, and more effective operations. But new technologies also pose unfamiliar and profound threats, as seen most clearly in the online proliferation of violent extremist ideologies, increasingly prevalent cyber attacks, and deadly vaccine misinformation. Emerging technologies are also blurring the lines between war and peace. States and non-state actors are carrying out malicious acts that fall below commonly understood thresholds for the use of force, yet may still have devastating impact. Anonymous actors are able to target critical infrastructure, such as power stations, hospitals, government facilities, and the IT systems crucial to running our societies. The clandestine use of these technologies risks unintended escalation, including full-blown conflict. Technology advances are also modifying the ways in which conventional weapons are being used. More accurate long-range rockets and missiles are allowing both states and non-state armed groups to carry out targeted strikes at great distances, including against populated areas. And we're also seeing the increased use of autonomous weapon systems. On this rapidly emerging issue, governments must work together to ensure that sufficient human control and judgment is retained in the use of force. In short, new technologies are changing the scale and speed of attack, as well as the character and nature of violence and destruction in war, with an indelible impact on civilian populations. These developments create new and urgent challenges for peace operations, which are experiencing these challenges firsthand. Excellencies, the UN has adapted and innovated throughout its 75 years. The concept of peacekeeping is itself the product of the art of the possible. But UN peacekeeping was conceived in an analog world. It is now essential that it fully embrace the digital world in which we live to improve the UN's agility, anticipation and responsiveness to conflicts, and to be able to address the challenges of today and tomorrow. A shift in peacekeeping culture, as well as a systemic change, are required for this to happen. That is why we have developed a strategy for the digital transformation of UN peacekeeping operations. The strategy seeks to use the opportunities offered by digital technologies to peacekeeping missions to mitigate the risks they pose and promote their responsible use. The strategy takes forward the vision of my second term, a renewed United Nations that is nimble, dynamic, and evolving to anticipate and address complex issues. Digital transformation in peacekeeping will contribute to one of the central objectives of Action for Peacekeeping Plus, to further data-driven and technology-enabled peacekeeping. It will be one of the most complex undertakings for UN peacekeeping in the coming years. But the need is critical and the benefits will be profound. Excellencies, the digital transformation strategy for UN peacekeeping focuses on 4 objectives. First, we must drive technology innovation at headquarters and in the field. Second, we must maximize the potential of current and new technologies to augment the capacity of missions to carry out their mandates effectively. This includes transforming information gathering and early warning capabilities to better protect civilians. It is essential that troop and police contributors in frontline roles have access to the most up-to-date technology. Third, peace operations should be able to detect, analyze, and address threats against civilians, peacekeepers, and humanitarian and political missions in a timely and integrated manner. Fourth, we must ensure the responsible use of digital technologies by peace operations by developing clear principles and undertaking human rights due diligence wherever there is a potential for harm. Excellencies, the digital transformation is already permeating our peacekeeping operations. The Unite Aware platform promises an integrated approach to situational awareness that could be used across civilian, military, and police components. MINUSMA is using machine learning to analyze radio data to detect hate speech, serving as an automated early warning system for unrest. A social media monitoring tool used by MONUSCO relies on artificial intelligence to identify perceptions of the mission to improve service. And the Smart Camp initiative will allow for more integrated, efficient, and greener peace operations. But to achieve the vision of the digital transformation strategy over the coming 3 years, we need active engagement and support of Member States. We are looking for assistance in capacity building and training, equipment provision, and financial contributions. The upcoming peacekeeping ministerial meeting in the Republic of Korea can further the digital transformation process, and the Partnership for Technology in Peacekeeping initiative provides another opportunity. Ultimately, bringing about culture change and transformation that will have a real impact on the ground will require engagement not only from state actors, but also civil society, the technology sector, and academia. Together, we can rise to the challenge of the digital transformation of UN peacekeeping, and I thank you for your engagement and support.
I thank the Secretary General for his briefing. I shall now make a statement in my capacity as the Minister of External Affairs of India. Let me begin by thanking the Secretary General, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for his briefing. Excellencies, since deploying for the first time in 1948, UN peacekeeping missions continue to operate in a variety of challenging settings. This could involve armed groups, non-state actors, and terrorists. Because the nature of peacekeeping missions and their attendant threats have become more complex, it is vital that our capabilities to secure the peacekeepers keep pace. We owe it to them to ensure that our protective efforts meet the highest standards. 21st century peacekeeping must be anchored in a strong ecosystem of technology and innovation that can facilitate UN peacekeeping operations in implementing their mandates in complex environments. After all, it helps them to adapt to changing conflict dynamics and take advantage of increased efficiencies. This is also in line with the strategy for digital transformation of UN peacekeeping, which seeks to advance the use of technology across the Action for Peacekeeping, A4P, themes including performance, safety and security, politics, protection, and peace building. Limited resources make the execution of peacekeeping mandates difficult even otherwise. When such mandates are expanded in an ad hoc fashion, the challenge becomes more complex. In recent years, peacekeepers have experienced a greater level of asymmetric threats, ranging from landmines to IEDs, and we cannot remain indifferent to this prospect. To execute the mandates, peacekeeping missions must be able to move fast to acquire and validate information from a wide range of openly available sources to enhance situational awareness, augment security, aid operational planning, and support decision-making. UN peacekeeping simply cannot afford to cede the information advantage to those actors determined to undermine prospects for peace by using modern technology to aid their violent cause. Let me therefore propose a 4-point framework that would lay out a possible architecture for securing UN peacekeepers to meet contemporary threats. First, we must focus on operationally proven, cost-effective, widely available, reliable, and field-serviceable technologies. They must also prioritize mobility, both in the sense of agile maneuverability of mission assets and in the sense of use of mobile, digital, or IT platforms. Where deployed, technology should be environment-friendly through the use of renewables and fuel efficiency and the use of environmentally friendly construction materials. Second, we need a sound information and intelligence foundation. Only this will ensure early warning and mobilizing a coherent and early response. A reliable, high-fidelity means to collect, use, process, and share information and data will create advantages from the very start for peacekeeping missions. Precise positioning and overhead visualization of mission environments is critically important to provide intelligence and enhance the safety and security of mission personnel. It therefore gives me great pleasure to announce that India is supporting the UN in the rollout of Unite Awareness Platform across select peacekeeping missions. This initiative is based on the expectation that an entire peacekeeping operation can be visualized, coordinated, and monitored on a real-time basis. We should ensure that any attack on a peacekeeper or a civilian is predictable, preventable, or responded to immediately. Thirdly, we must contribute to ensuring that technological improvements are continuous and are available on the ground in the gear that peacekeepers carry and the weapons and tools that they use to enhance their mobility, performance, endurance, range, and load-carrying capabilities while guaranteeing their safety and security. This also includes strengthening of communication within missions and enhancing overall capacity to take informed decisions at a tactical or operational level. Fourthly, consistent training and capacity building of peacekeepers in the realm of technology needs attention and investment. It is with this in mind that India is committed to long-term engagement with the UNSC C4ISR Academy for Peace Operations in Entebbe, Uganda, to meet the training needs, link it with available technological capability, and shape future requirements. I am pleased to announce that we have signed an MOU between the Government of India and the UN in support of the Partnership for Technology in Peacekeeping initiative and to UN C4ISR Academy for Peace Operations. We would welcome other member states to take active interest in this evolving paradigm. Political will, strengthened partnerships, and shifts in organizational culture are required to take it forward. Maximum transparency should remain a principle of the use of peacekeeping technology, and in particular, when used to enable information gathering and sharing. Peacekeeping requires continuous review, adaptation, and transparent engagement with all stakeholders, as also strong procedural safeguards and effective oversight mechanisms. Excellencies, peacekeeping continues to play a crucial role in India's vision of ensuring international peace and security, providing greater clarity, direction, and professionalism in our UN peacekeeping operations is at the heart of the vision. India has been a pioneer in UN peacekeeping, deploying more than 250,000 troops over the years in as many as 49 peacekeeping missions, serving under the blue flag. 174 gallant Indian soldiers have made the supreme sacrifice over the years, the largest number among troop contributing countries. In keeping with this tradition, we have today more than 5,000 personnel deployed across 9 missions. As a reflection of our deep commitment to protecting the protectors, the Government of India provided 200,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines for UN peacekeeping personnel worldwide in March this year. We are pleased that as the outcomes from our discussions today, the Council has adopted a resolution on accountability of crimes against UN peacekeepers, as well as a presidential statement on technology for peacekeeping, the first such UN Security Council document on this topic. It is this Council that sends peacekeepers across continents to keep the peace and implement the mandate that it decides. It is therefore the duty of this very august body to also ensure that we provide them the means to implement that mandate. We have shown today, both in the rollout of the Unite Awareness Platform as well as the actionable elements of training incorporated in the MOU, that India believes in walking the talk when it comes to safety and security of UN peacekeepers. We hope that in our discussions today, we get an equally strong reaffirmation of the UN's intent. I thank you all, and I now resume my duty as President of the Council. I now give the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Eva Maria Limets, Minister for Foreign Affairs of Estonia.
Thank you, Mr. President. At the outset, allow me to thank India for convening the high-level open debate and leading the negotiations on the corresponding presidential statement. I would also like to congratulate India on the successful adoption of the resolution about protecting peacekeepers. In addition, I thank the Secretary General for his insightful intervention. As was already highlighted, the integration of relevant existing and new technologies into peacekeeping missions can enhance mandate implementation, including the protection of civilians. It can also strengthen the safety and security of peacekeepers, which is urgently needed given the high number of peacekeeping fatalities. In short, peacekeeping missions simply cannot afford to lag behind in the use of modern technologies. Estonia believes that special focus should be given to gender-responsive technologies that are driven by the practical needs of end users. The use of environmentally responsible solutions, including renewable energy, in United Nations peacekeeping operations is equally important. There are practical steps that need to be taken in order to support the better use of innovations in ongoing peacekeeping missions. In this regard, I would like to highlight 3 observations. First, it is crucial that we become better at tapping into our collective knowledge regarding new technologies and best practices. On this note, I would like to commend the Secretary General for his ongoing initiatives, including the Unite Aware platform, that seek to connect the technological and innovative capacities of member states with the specific needs of peacekeeping missions. Estonia encourages further cooperation in this area. Second, all knowledge about new technologies and best practices is of little use unless these are actually integrated into peacekeeping missions. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure that the necessary political, legal, and financial frameworks are in place, which would allow for innovations to be swiftly adopted. Estonia also welcomes the development of the strategy for digital transformation of UN peacekeeping. We look forward to its release and subsequent implementation. Third, we must also become better at carrying out regular reviews to ensure that the technologies used in peacekeeping missions are indeed the best ones out there. Peacekeeping missions take place in a constantly changing environment. Technology is evolving quickly. Therefore, peacekeeping missions need to develop continuously in order to keep up with these changes. Mr. President, peacekeeping has often been referred to as the flagship of the United Nations enterprise. The Security Council must spare no effort to drive innovation that enables this flagship to continue to evolve with the changing realities. It is crucial for the millions of people whom peacekeeping serves and for the hundreds of thousands of people who serve in peacekeeping. To conclude, I reiterate Estonia's full support to the responsible use of technology that would enhance the ability of peacekeepers to do their noble job more effectively. Thank you.
I thank Her Excellency, Ms. Limets, for her statement. I now give the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Linda Thomas-Greenfield, Permanent Representative of the United States and member of President Biden's cabinet.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you for bringing bringing this important issue before the Security Council. I also thank you, Secretary General, for your briefing. Today's peacekeepers work day and night under some of the world's most severe circumstances to address threats to international peace and security, and we thank them for their service. They deserve the most advanced, cutting-edge technology to help them do this difficult job better. The right technology helps keep peacekeepers safe, and it helps them keep the communities they serve safe too. So it is our duty to ensure they have the technology and use it appropriately. After all, we all share responsibility for ensuring the safety and security of peacekeepers as they in turn protect civilians. It's a top priority of the Secretary General's Action for Peacekeeping initiative, and it's a top priority for us too. This initiative, the A4P Plus, further emphasizes the need to ensure well-being of peacekeeping personnel, including providing reliable medical support for all peacekeepers. So we deeply appreciate the Secretariat's efforts to improve emergency medical care practices using technology. We have supported these priorities through our own capacity building partnerships for years, working with contributing countries and providing them the technology and equipment they need to enhance their medical capabilities and save lives. The right technology can also increase mission efficiency and effectiveness. Peacekeeping missions predominantly operate in areas with unreliable power or without electricity grids altogether. Missions look for autonomous power supply options and rely heavily on diesel generators to overcome this challenge. In fact, more than 90% of the total consumed electricity by peacekeeping missions is supplied by diesel generators. This diesel costs a great deal, a large share of total mission cost. It accounts for the majority of the UN's greenhouse gas emissions, and it leaves missions vulnerable to supply chain disruptions. It's time to disrupt this reliance on diesel. The UN's Environmental Strategy for Peace Operations provides a framework for reducing the environmental footprint of the UN field operations and deploying missions that achieve maximum efficiency at a minimum cost. We are excited to see the vast improvements in data collection and analysis that Phase 1 delivered, and we look forward to seeing the results of Phase 2's effort to reduce the reliance of our peacekeeping missions on fossil fuels and increase their use of renewable energy technologies. And we continue to seek innovative solutions to today's peacekeeping challenges and attempt to scale these solutions across missions. We must take a phased and gradual approach. Our TCC and PCC partners need time to develop, learn, deploy, and sustain new capabilities. Procuring and sustaining new equipment requires additional training, different maintenance, and spare parts, resources, and patience. Contingent owned equipment guidelines and reimbursement rates will also need to ensure TCCs and PCCs are compensated for their investments in technological solutions. And wherever we encounter capability gaps, we should work through the light coordination mechanism to share information and identify potential capacity building partnerships to close these gaps. Finally, we must work together to ensure these innovative technologies are used responsibly. Military intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, including unmanned aircraft systems and camp security technologies, offer promising solutions to peacekeeping operations, but they must be used in line with UN doctrine and policy. We need to give due respect for safeguarding information gathered in accordance with international human rights and humanitarian law. To those ends, We welcome the Secretary General's efforts to launch a new digital transformation strategy for UN peacekeeping, and we look forward to supporting its implementation. We are eager to discuss all of this further, and in particular, how we can enhance peacekeeping medical capabilities at the upcoming UN Peacekeeping Ministerial. We welcome that the Republic of Korea, as ministerial host, intends to focus on this theme. Technology can be used both as a tool for good or a weapon for harm. It can take lives, or more importantly, it can save lives. Together, let us make sure we deploy technology rightly and justly to protect the protectors and empower them to better serve so many of the world's most vulnerable people. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank Her Excellency, Ms. Thomas Greenfield, for her statement. I give the floor now to the representative of Tunisia.
Shukran.
Thanks, Mr. President. At the outset, I would like to express our appreciation to India for holding this important session. We'd also like to welcome Dr. Jaishankar, the Minister of External Affairs of India, and the President of this session. We'd also like to thank His Excellency, Secretary General of the United Nations, Mr. Antonio Guterres, for his important briefing and for the important efforts that he's exerting in the field of technology and peacekeeping. Mr. President, as conflicts and the points of tension persist throughout the world, we see that they are accompanied by challenges and threats to international peace and security. This reinforces the urgent need for peacekeeping and peacebuilding missions run by the United Nations to continue. These missions undertake their operations in difficult and dangerous circumstances. And the past years have witnessed the emergence of new challenges and difficulties that are related to the nature of the conflicts themselves, which have become more violent and more complex because of the advances in weaponry, and they have become more widespread geographically as well as more prolonged. Moreover, we note the numerous and interlinked nature of the parties to the conflict and the spreading range of their humanitarian and security repercussions, as well as the social, economic, and political repercussions. We also note the effect of other elements such as pandemics and environmental factors and climate change and others, not to mention the growing role of terrorist organizations and armed groups and organized crime, which are involved in one way or the other in conflicts and current crises. All of this has been reflected on peacekeeping and peacebuilding missions whose responsibilities and operations have multiplied and are now working in more hostile environments and are facing greater dangers and challenges at all levels. And their responsibilities include providing the necessary protection to the elements of these operations as well as their headquarters, especially in light of the great increase of operations and attacks that target the peacekeepers. Here, and in light of the increasing variety of traditional and emerging challenges and the severe and extreme threats to international peace and security and the lives of millions in conflict areas, we cannot simply confront these challenges using traditional methods that don't necessarily guarantee the ability of the United Nations missions to perform their tasks as efficiently as needed. Therefore, there is need for a new approach that is based on enabling these missions and equipping them with all the necessary means to confront these challenges more effectively, and this has become more urgent than ever before. And at the forefront of these means is the use of modern technology through the adoption of a clear strategy to integrate such technology in peacebuilding and peacekeeping missions. Here, these missions need to advance and develop their analytical and field operations using AI applications in order to analyze conflict data, as well as adopt the satellite mapping technology and GPS data systems in order to determine the locations of IDPs and refugees and to determine means of reaching them and meeting their needs. In addition, these missions need technology to document human rights abuses and monitor the movements of parties to the conflict and track armed groups, as well as observe operations of arms smuggling and the movement of fighters, especially through digital mapping and social media. Here we need to enable UN missions and teach them to use modern technology in order to enhance the security and safety of peacekeeping mission members such as providing them with ways to detect IEDs and the technological means to combat misinformation, especially in light of COVID and the dangers of terrorism. Moreover, we stress the need to use unmanned aerial vehicles to reach hard-to-reach areas or areas which constitute a threat to the lives of peacekeepers. The mandates of peacekeeping operations have become more complicated, and this increases the need for these missions and the importance of their role in providing protection and meeting the humanitarian needs of millions of civilians, as well as helping in maintaining ceasefires and supporting political settlement operations and laying the foundations of security and stability. These missions are a ray of hope for these peoples and are a reflection of the collective international will to maintain international peace and security and stability. Therefore, they require support and the right modern technological support, especially since the number of parties that seek to undermine international peace and security, such as terrorist organizations, are using these technologies and rely on them heavily in their destructive activities, as well as in their funding and in their recruitment and propaganda. Therefore, we would like to support the United Nations, the Secretary General's A4P initiative, and all the efforts that the Secretariat is exerting to enhance means of work and the means of operations and the protection of peacekeeping missions in a manner that would enhance their performance and ability to deal with the dangers and difficulties and challenges. Here we would like to stress the importance of the role that the Security Council and the member states play here in line with Security Council Resolution 2518. In closing, Mr. President, we would like to note the initiative to launch the Unite Aware platform to enhance the use of modern technology in peacekeeping. And we would also support the PRST, and we renewed Tunisia's commitment to providing an active and effective contribution to international peace and security, which is one of our most important priorities since joining the United Nations peacekeeping operations in the 1960s. Thank you, sir.
I thank the representative of Tunisia for his statement. I give the floor to the representative of China.
中国代表。Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to welcome Minister of External Affairs Jaishankar for presiding over today's meeting. I would also like to thank Secretary General Guterres for his briefing. The UN peacekeeping is a major means of maintaining international peace and security and plays an important role in promoting political processes, monitoring the implementation of ceasefire, and protecting the vulnerable groups. Meanwhile, as the forms and nature of conflicts and disputes evolve, the peacekeeping operations are faced with more complex risks and challenges. The use of technologies of all kinds contributes to the capacity and efficiency of peacekeeping operations and helps reduce safety risks for peacekeeping personnel. China welcomes the presidential statement on peacekeeping and technology just adopted by the Council and supports the full use of technologies to continuously improve the mandate and implementing capacities of peacekeeping operations. China would like to make the following observations. First, the use of new technologies must focus on improving the safety of peacekeeping personnel. Peacekeeping operations can fully use technological tools to improve information gathering analysis, risk early warning, emergency response, emergency relief, and other capacities, and reduce safety risks for peacekeepers. IEDs have become a major cause for the injuries and fatalities of peacekeeping personnel. When the Secretariat prepares the independent strategic review of peacekeeping operations responses to IEDs requested in the presidential statement adopted by the Council last May, it should fully consider ways to use technologies to prevent and mitigate the threat of IEDs. Second, the use of new technologies in peacekeeping operations should respect the sovereignty and will of host countries. Peacekeeping missions, when using technologies of all kinds to conduct reconnaissance and surveillance, should have prior consultations with host countries to make sure that the use of relevant technologies fully respect their sovereignty, uphold the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, including non-interference in internal affairs, and follow basic principles of peacekeeping. Peacekeeping missions should use relevant technologies based on the needs on the ground and in accordance with Council mandates, while avoiding harming the national security, public security, and information security of host countries. China proposed the Global Initiative on Data Security last year, which can serve as a reference for regulating technology using peacekeeping and enhancing data security. Third, the use of new technologies in peacekeeping operations needs relevant support and guarantee. To facilitate effective use of new technological equipment in peacekeeping operations, the COE list of TCCs and PCCs should be updated timely. Cost effectiveness should also be taken fully into consideration to ensure proper planning. All member states should pay their peacekeeping contributions in full and on time. Reimbursement for equipment and personnel of TCCs and PCCs should be provided timely to make sure peacekeeping operations can make full use of new technologies. To improve the peacekeepers' capacities in using new technologies, the Security Council, TCCs, PCCs, and the Secretariat should improve coordination, provide more tailored training for peacekeepers, and compile lessons and best practices quickly. Mr. President, China is the largest TCC for peacekeeping operations among permanent members of the Council and attaches great importance to the use of technologies in peacekeeping. We have responded positively to the tripartite cooperation mechanism championed by the UN and provide support on the use of new technologies to other TCs and regional organizations in their peacekeeping operations. The China UN Peace and Development Trust Fund has implemented projects that use technologies to improve peacekeeping, camp security, and operational capacities, such as projects to build smart camps and improve data sharing. The resolution 2518 adopted last year by the Council and the presidential statement adopted last May have specific recommendations and requirements on the use of technologies to improve the safety of peacekeepers. China stands ready to work with other Council members and the international community to contribute to the continuous improvement of peacekeeping operations and safety of peacekeepers. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of China for his statement. I give the floor to the representative of Kenya.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Minister Jaishankar. I thank Their Excellencies Mr. Antonio Guterres for his insightful briefing on this important subject. Kenya has for many years participated in UN peacekeeping missions around the world as our contribution to international peace and security. Our peacekeeping story is similar to other troop and police contributing countries represented here, which is a story of continuing commitment to humanity, peace, and political stability, and to the prosperity of all peoples of the world. The core mandate of this Security Council is to pursue and maintain international peace and security. And that is driven most visibly by our peacekeepers, the gallant men and women who are deployed in increasingly deteriorating and complex political and security environments that are characterized by frequent targeted attacks, including through the use of landmines, explosive remnants of war, and improvised explosive devices. We salute them and honor the memory of those who have had to pay the ultimate price in the line of duty, and thank India for this morning's ceremony to remind us of the solemn duty we have to our peacekeepers. Kenya is committed to working with members of the Security Council and other stakeholders in championing the protection of peacekeepers. In this regard, we commend the Secretary General for his action for Peacekeeping Plus, whose priorities include accountability to peacekeepers by ensuring their safety and security. Mr. President, as the world is changing, so is the peacekeeping environment. One of the most revolutionary agents of change globally is the exponential advancement in technology, and its use has become an indispensable tool in all facets of life, including in peacekeeping. And I support the statements that have been made on noting that it is not only a challenge and a threat, but also an opportunity. Technology has emerged as a tool, though, in the hands of terrorists and insurgents who are increasingly using the most modern technologies that include drones and even elementary artificial intelligence to plan and carry out their attacks. These groups are also employing internet-based solutions and platforms for unfettered communication and dissemination of information that endangers both peacekeepers and civilians. Kenya welcomes the efforts by UN departments to enhance the use of technology for peacekeeping operations. We are particularly delighted by the launch of the Unite Aware platform and others aimed at enhancing situational awareness of the peacekeepers. I therefore thank India for partnering with the Department of Operational Support to ensure the success of this project. Allow me, Mr. President, to underscore 6 points that are pertinent to the employment of technology in the protection of peacekeepers. First, we need technology to be fully integrated into mission mandates, and the Security Council should ensure that approved personnel have the strength and equipment that has requisite technological enablers with corresponding budget provisions. This technology should include counter-IED and EOD equipment and the ability to exploit the electromagnetic spectrum for the benefit of peacekeeping missions. In addition, there should be a capability for the detection of inflammatory and violent speech on social media that endangers civilians in the theater and peacekeepers as well. And social media companies should be pushed to respond to the needs of these missions. And there's a lot of work going on pushing social media companies to be more responsive to hate or inflammatory speech online. And that should be extended to where we dispatch peacekeepers. Secondly, troop and police contributing countries should be encouraged to deploy with essential equipment for which the UN should be ready to reimburse accordingly. Countries that have the means to support such operations gratis through the Secretariat are encouraged to do so. Third, with diverse forces coming together for peacekeeping operations, there can be significant interoperability challenges and duplication between units. It is therefore important to set standards that should be strictly adhered to by all missions. The possibility of sharing technology solutions and equipment across missions should also be explored. Such sharing would come with the added advantage of cost effectiveness and developing a common operating infrastructure on which future operations can seamlessly build upon. Fourth, we need to gain and maintain the trust of the host nations by ensuring that the information collected using this modern technology is only utilized to protect the UN mandate, its personnel and installations, as well as civilians. This Council should emphasize responsible use of technology by avoiding unnecessary deployments and keeping to a strict adherence to the principles of impartiality and neutrality. Fifth, while focusing on technology, we must be reminded that the basic foundations of armed conflict remain the same. Peacekeepers must therefore be properly grounded on the physical, moral, and conceptual foundations of conflict in the environments they operate in. Technology comes into the picture as an enabler of the mandate. Finally, and this is an obvious appeal, but I think bears repeating, the most devastating technologies remain the gun and the ammunition that it uses. And we, I think, need to help missions assist countries in their disarmament efforts to prevent guns and ammunition getting into the hands of illicit actors who are engaged in hostile operations when we dispatch peacekeepers. Let me conclude by reiterating Kenya's commitment to the advancement of international peace and security through well-facilitated and equipped peacekeepers for sustainable stability and prosperity. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Kenya for his statement. I give the floor now to the representative of the United Kingdom.
Mr. President, thank you for convening today's debate. I would like to thank the Secretary-General for his remarks on this subject. Without peacekeepers, there is no peacekeeping. They are our most valuable asset for protecting civilians, championing the rule of law, and ultimately paving the way to a durable peace. Yet, sadly, peacekeepers continue to pay the ultimate price as they conduct their vital work implementing the mandates we set. So far this year, 83 peacekeepers have lost their lives in the service of the UN. So it is fitting that this morning we pay tribute to their service. We must work collectively to ensure peacekeepers' safety and security, both for their protection and so that they are better empowered to deliver their mandates. Technology and innovation, supported by thorough training, can enhance the safety and security of all UN personnel. That is why the UK is proud to partner with India, support initiatives such as Unite Aware. This is a technology platform which improves peacekeepers' situational awareness and information analysis, vital elements in keeping them safe. Technology such as this, alongside developments in peacekeeping intelligence, helps protect our peacekeepers and support their ability to protect civilians. It contributes to the overall effectiveness of each mission. It provides real operational benefit. We have seen this on the ground through the recent UK deployment to MINUSMA in Mali. UK troops have gathered intelligence to support mission planning and improve mission performance. Recently, UK personnel led a coordinated search operation to seize weapons and equipment hidden by terrorists, threatening local communities. A first for MINUSMA for some time. But of course, technology is only one part of the challenge of mitigating the risks to peacekeepers. We must also ensure that all peacekeepers receive training in basic military skills and skills specific to the task. Maintaining and improving the knowledge and skills of peacekeepers will have an invaluable impact on casualty reduction. Comprehensive and mission-specific training is key to understanding and tackling threats. Peacekeepers that have the right skills and training and the appropriate equipment are more able to effectively defend themselves against attack. And through our partnerships with other countries that contribute personnel, the UK provides training in a range of vital areas. This includes counter-IED training, peacekeeping intelligence, and public order management. Mr. President, I would like to highlight the benefits of technology for the environment, including within UN operations. Climate change remains the biggest collective challenge of our generation. To protect the generations of the future, we must look at all options to curb emissions. In 2020, UN peace operations accounted for 42% of the UN system's carbon footprint. As we've already heard today, we must do better if we are to meet the Secretary-General's Climate Action Plan targets, and that starts with UN action. For example, the overwhelming majority of MINUSMA's energy requirements are met through diesel. The mission anticipated using 55.8 million litres of fuel last financial year. That's a 13% increase on the year before. So it's time to look at using alternative renewable energy sources, such as solar. The fact that Mali and many sub-Saharan African countries with large UN missions are already feeling the impact of climate change should give a even greater sense of urgency. Mr. President, there's an opportunity here, through the effective use of technology, to improve peacekeeping, improve the safety and security of peacekeepers, and to improve the health of our planet. We should seize it together. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the United Kingdom for his statement. I give the floor now to the representative of Niger.
Thank you, Minister. Over recent years, peace operations have been happening in difficult and perilous terrains, in a context marked by frequent deadly terrorist attacks against blue helmets, civilians, and the armed forces of host countries. Against this particular backdrop, the use of technology for peacekeeping is absolutely indispensable as a performance multiplier, particularly given the constraints resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. This is why I would like to thank India for having included this important topic on the Council's agenda. I would also like to thank the Secretary-General for his briefing. The importance of digital transformation of peace operations goes without saying, as is attested to by the growing numbers of dead and injured within missions. This dismal outlook means that more than ever we must ensure permanent adaptation of Blue Helmet's equipment, since the hostile forces are using sophisticated equipment to achieve their own ends. President, given the increasing ability of hostile forces to procure new technologies which allow them to increase their ability to harm, we must no longer delay, since we cannot win today's battle using yesterday's tools, as was so rightly recalled by His Excellency Cho Hyun, Permanent Representative of the Republic of Korea, on the 17th of June 2021 during the meeting on the United Nations Strategy on Digital Transformation of Peacekeeping Operations. Given the realities on the ground, as highlighted by the Secretariat, the Security Council, countries contributing troops and financial resources, as well as all peacekeeping partners, Niger strongly encourages the use of technology in these operations. Technologies facilitate the accomplishment of mandates in the complex situations and circumstances in which they operate. In a word, this will allow us to improve the performance of missions, to facilitate rapid and effective stabilization actions, and facilitate the safety and security of the blue helmets, the protection of civilians, without whom the effective accomplishment of mandates could not be completed. The digital transformation of peacekeeping operations could facilitate a better knowledge of their environment and the situation on the ground, notably through obtaining rapid information with the help of sophisticated equipment. The use of new technological innovations would allow for a significant improvement in the scope, coverage and precision of observations on the ground, and would help to close the existing gap between mandates and capacities. This would also allow for a reduction in crimes in theatres of operation and an increase in the protection of civilians and the safety and security of blue helmets. Therefore, the use of new technologies could compensate for the lack of adequate resources often facing missions. This would allow them to be more active in effectively fulfilling their mandates. However, seeking to improve performance must also go hand in hand with ensuring that our use of new technology complies with international law and the respect for the private lives of local people. The rules governing their use must be clearly laid out and defined so as to avoid any missteps. To conclude, if we wish to achieve our ambition of the digital transformation of peace operations, we must necessarily develop better cooperation regarding this issue, so as to facilitate the access to cutting-edge equipment for all troop contributing countries, thus avoiding delays in both deployment and performance of missions. This perspective can only be achieved with support for the troop contributing countries in bolstering their capacities to use new technologies so as to better respond to emergency situations. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Niger for his statement. I give the floor now to the representative of France.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, first of all, for organising this extremely important debate, and I would also like to thank the UN Secretary-General for his briefing. Mr. President, I'm going to address 3 points. First of all, the potential of technologies which needs to be exploited further for more effective peacekeeping. Missions are facing increasingly complex environments, increasingly volatile environments, and France condemns the attacks of armed groups, which in recent days have killed many civilians in Mali, in the Central African Republic, or in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The methods of these assailants are changing with the growing use of improvised explosive devices and mines. Local armed forces and the blue helmets are continuing to be targeted. France pays tribute to all of those who have fallen in the name of peace. For that reason, peacekeeping needs to change the way it does its work. For missions, the opportunities provided by technology are threefold: strengthening the protection of civilians, supporting the performance of missions, and contributing to the protection of the protectors, the blue helmets. By refining analyses and early warning mechanisms, technologies make missions more responsive. By allowing for economies of scale and the rationalization of resources, they strengthen efficiency. And by modernizing the defense of camps and providing them with sustainable energy that reduces the frequency of logistics convoys, it makes the work of the blue helmets more safe and secure. Secondly, technology must be adapted to needs on the ground and the needs of the blue helmets. Technology is, of course, only a tool, a resource in the service of peacekeeping, and we need to think about the appropriate level of technology to be implemented to ensure that it meets very precise operational needs. The Unite Aware platform is, in this regard, an excellent example, allowing the blue helmets to remain informed in real time about the developing situation on the ground. The use of technologies also presupposes the improvement of equipment and capacities. Here I have in mind the potential provided by drones, smart rocket detection systems, and systems to protect against cyber attacks, and this of course presupposes human and financial resources. Mastering new technologies requires prior and adapted training for the blue helmets, which is chiefly incumbent upon the troop contributing countries. The information gathered by technology will only be useful if we are able to process it. The methods and best practices also need to be shared among contingents and among operations. In Mali, for example, the lessons that were learned when it comes to detecting and combating improvised explosive devices would certainly benefit from being shared with other missions. Lastly, Mr. President, this is my third point. Technology must be used in a responsible way in the service of finding political solutions, and it should be used in the service of implementing mandates in full compliance with the principles of peacekeeping, with international humanitarian law, and with the protection of human rights. We must also promote the digital integration of all, including women and young people. The potential of digital should be used to create further early warning and rapid response networks, as is the case within MINUSMA. If it isn't focused on populations, technology will not be able to work in the service of lasting peace. Lastly, technology can be used more to protect the environment. Here I have in mind the use of energy-efficient materials or limiting emissions, which is allowed for by digitization. And this is the direction we should be going in. Mr. President, a great deal remains to be done, and the strategy for the digital transformation of peacekeeping, which has just been finalized, should maximize the potential of these technologies, complementing the operations already undertaken by Blue Helmets, which should continue. This is among the priorities of the A4P Plus initiative of the Secretary-General, which France fully supports. The potential of technologies will also be on the agenda at the ministerial meeting on peacekeeping in Seoul in December. We will continue our thinking there that we've started today, and we will work for peace. Thank you.
I thank the representative of France for her statement. I give the floor now to the representative of Vietnam.
Thank you, Mr. President. I thank the Indian presidency for organizing this open debate. I thank you, ministers, for presiding over our discussion today. We also thank the Secretary General for his insightful and comprehensive briefing. Mr. President, Over the years, peacekeeping has become one of the UN's most important tools in the maintenance of peace and security. It has evolved to address complex situations and take up challenging mandates, facilitating cessation of armed conflict, implementation of ceasefire and political agreement, protection of civilian, humanitarian assistance delivery. However, peacekeepers are facing more and more challenges. Peacekeeping, therefore, must be equipped with proper tools to enable our men and women in the field to effectively carry out their mandate and to protect them from the various threats. It becomes more and more evident of the differences that technology can make to peacekeeping. We see great potential in using technology as an enabler to enhance the safety and security of peacekeepers and the effectiveness of mandate implementations. And at the same time, the application of technology should be driven by practical needs of concrete mission and task. Further possibility could be realized through further research, training and application of technology at field level and at UN headquarters. It should also be continuous before, during and after deployment to ensure sustainability and progressiveness. Peacekeepers must be properly prepared, equipped and afforded the best protections, including through the ensured access to the ownership and the use of technologies and participation opportunity in an equitable manner. In this connection, we applaud efforts undertaken by troop and policy contributing countries and the Secretariat to encourage the use of technologies. We also take note of the recent adoption of the strategy for the digital transformation of the UN peacekeeping, with an aim toward harnessing the potential of digital technology and better deliveries of peacekeeping mandate. On the other hand, we recognize the possible risks often associated with the use of technology, such as misinformation, disinformation, irresponsible management, and use of data, etc. Even so, we should not shy away from exploring the significant possibility offered by technology. Instead, its application should be carried out and managed in a careful manner to ensure practicalities, efficiency, and confidentiality. The selection of technology should also align with the technology capacity building and training of each troop and policy contributing country, as well as the specific context of each peacekeeping mission. Mr. President, Vietnam wishes to reaffirm our support to the UN peacekeeping, as well as efforts aimed at enhancing the safety and security of peacekeepers and the mandate implementation. With this in mind, we encourage the member states to continue engaging in dialogue and cooperation, including through engagement with the UN Secretariat at the Security Council and other relevant UN fora, in order to find effective measures for the use of existing and the new technology in peacekeeping, while respecting the principle of peacekeeping, international law, and the sovereignty of state. We look forward to further engaging with all partners in this regard. I thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Vietnam for his statement. I give the floor now to the representative of Norway.
Thank you, Mr. President. Let me start by thanking India and you, Your Excellency, Dr. Jaishankar, for arranging this debate and for presenting a presidential statement on how we can move forward on this important issue. As technological advances continue at a breathtaking pace, it is most timely that the UN Security Council meets to discuss the role of technology for UN peacekeeping. Mr. President, we need to make sure that the peace operations are set up in the best way possible, also when it comes to the use of relevant technologies. Norway fully agrees with the focus given to technology as a cross-cutting issue and the preparations for the Seoul Ministerial. We are convinced that this focus will help ensure that further progress can be made in the current implementation phase of the Action for Peacekeeping initiative, also known as the A4P+. Norway welcomes the strategy for the digital transformation of peacekeeping. It is, as the Secretary General himself emphasized, an important contribution to the Secretary General's vision statement, in which he identified digital transformation as an imperative for the next 5 years. Norway fully concurs with the emphasis placed on the use of technology to enhance the safety and security of peacekeepers, and strengthening the capacity to protect civilians is a key Norwegian priority. We will therefore provide funding to project undertaken by the Department of Peace Operations that is using data and technology to enhance performance on the protection of civilians by the UN operations. This includes the SAGE database and the Unite Aware platform. Norway is a strong believer in the importance of making active use of technology to enhance political processes. Political process is conducive to the establishment of a protective environment to the benefit of both peacekeepers and civilians. Equally important, an inclusive political process is vital in laying the ground for lasting peace. Digital technologies can play a key role in that regard through the facilitation of an analytical, gender-responsive, forward-looking understanding of conflict environments. However, one cannot simply assume that active use of digital and other technologies will change everything for the better. Norway therefore welcomes the guiding principles for the digital transformation strategy, which includes do no harm, inclusion and transparency, and sustainability and scalability. Those principles are equally relevant regarding the use of other technologies. In this regard, it is critical that the digital dignity of affected people is preserved by protecting their personal data. To move forward, we need to ensure that discussions on the use of technology are integrated in all aspects of the peacekeeping planning process. Moreover, the use of various technologies should continuously be evaluated and adapted as the missions progress and lessons are learned. And we need to engage in partnership and cooperation, not only within UN and between member states, but also with those who develop new technologies, the think tanks, the private sector, academia, and NGOs. The questions we should ask include the following. Which technologies have the greatest potential to enhance the implementation of peacekeeping mandates? What are the main obstacles regarding the use of new technologies in UN peace operations? And what risks do their use pose? And how can we strengthen protection and safeguard against those risks and ensure that their use is in accordance with international law, including international human rights law obligations and the international humanitarian law? In conclusion, peacekeeping operations are one of the world's community's most effective tools for the promotion and maintenance of international peace and security. It is our responsibility to enable them to optimize their effectiveness and ensure that they can deliver on their mandated task. Thank you, Mr. President.
I thank the representative of Norway for his statement. I give the floor to the representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Thank you, Mr. President. St. Vincent and the Grenadines welcomes today's discussion, and we thank the Secretary General for his remarks. Peacekeepers are deployed under the most hostile conditions where they face immense threats to their own security and that of the communities they are mandated to protect. Against this backdrop, we must redouble our efforts to keep them safe as we honor them for their selfless commitments and sacrifices. To this end, we commend today's adoption of the presidential statement on peacekeeping and technology and congratulate the Republic of India for its leadership on this important issue. Mr. President, a wide array of health, socio-economic, political, security, and environmental hazards threaten stability in conflict-affected countries. These interconnecting challenges, which include the COVID-19 pandemic, the climate crisis, and asymmetric threats posed by terrorists, armed groups, and organized criminals, undermine the effectiveness of peace operations and place at risk the lives of their uniformed and civilian personnel. St. Vincent and the Grenadines condemns in the strongest terms recent hostilities that targeted peacekeepers in northern Mali and aggressions against UNAMA's compound in Afghanistan. These incidents provide a striking reminder that all attacks against UN personnel and infrastructure, wheresoever and by whomsoever committed, must be promptly investigated and those found responsible must be held to account. Under no circumstance should impunity for attacks against peacekeepers be tolerated. It is widely accepted that innovative technologies serve as force multipliers in mission settings by improving surveillance, information gathering, and peacekeeping intelligence, increasing situational awareness and strengthening force protection, enhancing strategic communications, including capacities for monitoring and countering disinformation, misinformation, and hate speech, and supporting decision-making and mandate delivery at the strategic, operational, and tactical levels. We must strive to ensure that these competencies are made widely available to each peacekeeping operation. In this regard, it is crucial that all stakeholders, including troop and police contributing countries, Member States, and the Secretariat, work closely together to provide each mission with adequate resources, as well as clear, focused, and actionable mandates to ensure that peacekeepers are able to discharge their duties safely and efficiently. Enhanced triangular cooperation is essential for implementing Resolutions 2436, 2518, and other relevant outcomes that address peacekeeping performance and bolster the safety and security of peacekeepers. It is imperative that modern technologies that assist with explosive ordnance detection, management, and disposal are made available to all mission settings whenever possible, transferred to host countries that grapple with residual risks of improvised explosive devices and other remnants of war. IEDs have claimed the lives of far too many uniformed and civilian personnel. It is also crucial that peacekeepers are provided with safe and effective COVID-19 vaccines to protect them and the host communities in which they are deployed. To conclude, Mr. President, my delegation commends all efforts to modernize peacekeeping through measures such as the Secretary-General's Action for Peacekeeping Initiative and the United Nations Strategy for the Digital Transformation of Peacekeeping. We also welcome all efforts to increase the use of renewable energy technology in UN peacekeeping missions. These technologies improve climate compliance, enhance mission efficiency, and bolster the safety and security of UN personnel. St. Vincent and the Grenadines encourages further integration of modern technology into peacekeeping and emphasizes that these technologies must always be reliable, gender-responsive, environmentally friendly, and meet the practical requirements of peacekeepers in the field. They must also, in every circumstance, fulfill the national needs and priorities of the host countries in which they are deployed. I thank you.
I thank the representative of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for her statement. I give the floor now to the representative of the Russian Federation.
Thank you, Mr. President. We welcome your personal participation, Minister Jaishankar, in today's event. We highly appreciate your country's contribution to peacekeeping efforts of the UN. India is not only one of the biggest contributors of troops to peacekeeping operations, but also actively participates in discussions at the UN aimed at improving the performance of peacekeepers and improving the conditions of their work. It is no surprise, then, that these issues have taken centre stage during India's presidency of the Council. We are grateful to you for raising such important issues as ensuring the safety and security of blue helmets and the use of new technologies in peacekeeping. We supported the initiative to prepare the two respective documents. We value the work done by your country's delegation. As a result of that, we have genuinely balanced documents that take into account the interests of all Council members. For that reason, Russia joined the ranks of the co-sponsors of the resolution on accountability for crimes committed against peacekeepers. Mr. President, the Blue Helmets do their noble duty in extremely complex and dangerous circumstances, risking their lives on a daily basis, and their contribution to the business of peace is invaluable. Therefore, crimes committed against peacekeepers, the investigations of them and punishing those responsible requires special attention. We need to create mechanisms that allow us to ensure the administration of justice in an unprejudiced way and quickly in all such cases. Of particular need here is cooperation from the host country, the troop contributing countries and the UN Secretariat. They all need to work in harmony, in good faith, and with the necessary level of transparency. Our view is that the resolution that was adopted today has removed some of the existing lacunae in this area. Concerning the need to supply peacekeepers with modern equipment, that isn't in any doubt. We are living in a rapidly changing technological world, and of course new technologies and peacekeeping is an important subject, many aspects of which UN member states still need to discuss in order to come up with common approaches. The Secretariat should closely monitor the course of these discussions and take their results into account in its work. At this stage, member states have decided that the use of new technologies by Blue Helmets and other UN personnel must be aimed at ensuring the safety and security of the civilian population and peacekeepers themselves. Advances in technology do have a future, but where there are opportunities, there are also risks. Peacekeepers introducing and using IT and digital technology should not present a threat to the sovereignty of the host state, that of its neighbours, or should not violate the private life of citizens. And this matter is particularly sensitive when we're talking about the UN, an organisation with a unique reputation for justice and impartiality, the main task of which is to selflessly help those most in need. Mr. President, we thank the UN Secretary-General for the assessments that he conveyed. Against the backdrop of the UN system adapting to new challenges and the diversification of international mechanisms and instruments for the prevention of and resolution of crises, UN peacekeeping undoubtedly will remain one of the most effective instruments for conflict resolution and for providing assistance in state building at the initial post-crisis stage. At the same time, there are often situations where peacekeeping presences have been deployed for decades without this guaranteeing any tangible progress in resolving and removing the root causes of conflicts. This means that we need to think about the effectiveness of mandates and whether it's appropriate to inflate them to the detriment of the national responsibility of states for their internal political processes. An equally important role is played by the quality of interactions with the authorities of the host country. In this context, we are convinced that the effectiveness of peacekeeping efforts is far from always dependent on the provision of technology, gender representation, or the number of advisors deployed in all sorts of issues that are not specifically relevant for peacekeepers. We must not forget that the most important thing is overcoming political confrontations, and that is the alpha and omega of the UN's performance and that of its peacekeeping operations. The history of conflicts in various different regions of the world has shown that it is specifically good quality, laborious political and mediation efforts while observing state sovereignty that helps remove the root causes of conflicts rather than simply addressing the symptoms. Supporting a political settlement must be the priority for peacekeeping. Otherwise, even if there is a temporary lull, crises run the risk of returning. Thank you.
I thank the representative of the Russian Federation for his statement. I give the floor now to the representative of Mexico.
Muchas gracias. Thank you very much, President. We welcome you to the Security Council and also recognise the presence of the Secretary-General and the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Estonia. Mexico thanks you for convening this open debate and the SG, the Secretary-General, for his briefing. The complexity of today's armed conflicts and their multidimensional nature require truly integral solutions. This is why the availability and effective use of technologies are imperative in the context of peacekeeping in the 21st century. Against the backdrop of rapid technological change, there is potential to resolve operational and tactical challenges, including improving effective deployment, supporting the fulfillment of mandates, or bolstering the security of personnel on the ground and of host communities. Technologies can also be a crucial element in early warning mechanisms, which allow us to avoid serious humanitarian crises, mass atrocities, and other violations of human rights. President, Member States must support the efforts of the United Nations to bolster the technological capacities to respond to needs on the ground. We urge the Department for Peace Operations and the Department of Operational Support to step up dialogue with Member States to identify challenges and opportunities. We also note the strategy for the digital transformation of UN peacekeeping, which goes in line with the Secretary-General's roadmap for digital cooperation, and in which we appreciate the coordination work between various entities of the system. In this regard, we wish to underscore the fact that yesterday the Secretary-General adopted Resolution 75/316 on rapid technological change presented by Mexico, by my country, which underscores the leadership that the United Nations must have in the fields of technology, science and innovation. The lessons learnt from this pandemic show us that remote exchange of information can also benefit from the involvement of other organizations, funds and programs of the United Nations and of humanitarian agents on the ground and representatives of civil society. These aspects must be taken into account when adjusting peace operation mandates, taking into account the recommendations of the Special Committee of Peacekeeping Operations, the C34, and also of troop contributing and peace contributing countries. Mexico believes that the forthcoming ministerial summit on peacekeeping, to be held in Seoul next December, will be an opportunity to discuss in depth the cross-cutting issues of technology and the development of medical capacity. My country also reiterates its support for the commitments of the Action for Peacekeeping Plus initiative in relation to the use of technology to improve the timely detection of threats, and we support the call for peace operations to be endowed with new technologies, allowing them to provide timely, routine and emergency medical assistance. We also observe that the use of social networks as a part of a concerted operation of strategic information can strengthen relationships between missions and the communities where they are operating. President, my country recognizes that continuous training and capacity building are essential aspects for the security of peace personnel, and the Joint Training Center for Peace Operations of Mexico provides training which uses technology in the learning process, such as laboratories and simulators which recreate the complex conditions faced by deployed personnel. Mexico also supports the technological innovations to reduce the environmental footprint of peace operations. I wish to conclude, President, by underscoring how crucial it is for peace operations to regularly review their management analysis practices regarding the use of technologies as a means of fulfilling their mandate and responding to changing scenarios. We also urge United Nations system entities to continue with the necessary dialogue and cooperation to contribute to the digital transformation of peacekeeping, with a view to strengthening multilateralism. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to extend my gratitude to the delegation of India for leading the negotiations on the adoption of the resolution and the presidential statement on the item under discussion this morning. Thank you very much, President.
Thank you. I thank the representative of Mexico for her statement. I give the floor now to the representative of Ireland.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, and delighted to welcome you amongst us in the Chamber. And I want to thank you most sincerely, to thank India for organising this important discussion, and certainly to welcome the adoption of the presidential statement on this issue. Ireland shares with India a deep and long-standing commitment to peacekeeping. Indeed, Irish and Indian troops today proudly serve side by side in UNIFIL and UNDOF in the noble service of humanity. For all peacekeeping nations, the safety and the security of our peacekeepers is paramount. When lives are lost, there can be no impunity for those responsible. For this reason, we also very much welcome the adoption this morning of the resolution on addressing impunity of crimes against peacekeepers, which we are very pleased to co-sponsor. Mr. President, as others have said this morning, the risks our peacekeepers face are wide-ranging, and they are constantly evolving, from IEDs to complex attacks to drone technology. Effectively addressing these threats requires consideration of the safety and security of peacekeepers right throughout the mission cycle, from inception to transition. Indeed, we know now that the period of reconfiguration and transition of peacekeeping missions heightens the risk of threats to both peacekeepers and to civilians. Ensuring that transitions are properly managed, coordinated and organised helps to significantly reduce those risks. This is a priority for Ireland on the Security Council, and we look forward to hosting a ministerial level meeting on this during our upcoming presidency in September. Mr. President, we have learned through bitter experience that technologies can be used to destabilise or exacerbate conflicts, but we also know that technologies can offer valuable assistance in equipping and resourcing peacekeepers in peacekeeping operations and in fulfilling mission mandates. How we harness and manage new technologies is crucial. As you pointed out, Minister, enhancing situational awareness and early warning mechanisms in missions that can improve decision-making for the protection of UN personnel and the protection of civilians is essential. Technology can also play an important role as a force multiplier. It has the potential to offer UN peacekeepers greater situational awareness, improved data analysis, and thereby improve the safety and security of missions, while also increasing their effectiveness. This is particularly true also with regard to the protection of civilians. UNITAD is a good example of how innovative technologies can be used effectively. We therefore welcome the strategy for the digital transformation of UN peacekeeping, which supports the use of technology across the action for peacekeeping themes, including performance, safety and security, politics, protection, and peace building. Mr. President, in order to maximise the opportunities of technology, peacekeeping missions need to be adequately resourced. Training must also be designed to leverage the capabilities of technology. While gaps can arise in the levels of equipment and training available to peacekeepers, it's imperative that, at a minimum, all troop-contributing countries have equal access to self-protection technologies that support their critical safety and security. This includes through improving situational awareness and early warning, including through artificial intelligence. We recognise the particular importance of unarmed, unmanned aerial vehicles, while emphasising that their use must always be in compliance with international law and respect the core principles and values of the United Nations. Mr. President, clearly our valuable, much valued peacekeepers should not be playing catch-up when it comes to new technologies.
Armed groups are becoming ever more innovative in their use of emerging technology. In response, we must share valuable insights, and we need to be equally innovative in how we mitigate this threat. This includes examining how armed groups exploit the accessibility of information and technology. Here, effective export controls are crucial. Recognizing the growing importance of technologies and their risk to international peace and security means that we must stay ahead of the curve through innovations in multilateral diplomacy and digital development to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. To do this, we need greater cooperation and engagement with regional organisations, private sector and civil society in order to responsibly develop and use technologies. We need to ensure, literally, that no one is left behind as technology advances. In particular, we need technology that is gender transformative, not gender blind. The correct use of technology to support peacekeepers can be an enabling factor in support of improving the proportion of women peacekeepers, a name I know we all share at this table. As a country with a long-standing record of contributing to peacekeeping missions, Ireland is committed to continuing to share our experience and help build capacity with others to develop and use critical technology to ensure the safety and security of our peacekeepers. So thank you once again, Minister.
I thank the representative of Ireland for her statement. There are no more names inscribed on the list of speakers. Before closing, I would like to thank once again all the distinguished participants who joined us today. I would also like to thank the member states which have so far submitted written statements on the subject of today's discussion. We look forward to receiving more. Statements that are received by the end of today will form part of the compilation of written statements. The meeting is adjourned.